we want to start with the weather, because that is always an important topic, no matter what the day is.
Yep.
Weather is always an important. And Becca Bursall is here, and she is shaking her head. Yes, it is important.
I'm important.
She thought I didn't see that. I saw that. I see everything here in the Live Impact studio. Becca, thank you for joining us.
Yes.
A much calmer week than last week, it appears.
Yes. You know what? We've got a lot of things happening too. We've
Okay.
got some Canadian smoke
is
that we
right.
had this weekend. That still prevails today as well. So I don't know if I was actually out of town this weekend. But we had a lot of really beautiful sunset pictures from yesterday.
Okay.
And we're going to hang on to that wildfire smoke likely today, getting a brief break of it tomorrow before another plume starts to approach on Wednesday. So just some gorgeous sunset pictures from Chris Michaels and Johnny Mike, kind of showing that red hue from the wildfire smoke, and we'll likely see a lot more beautiful pictures later on today. So that smoke satellite, a lot going on here, but if you look very closely on some of those darker hues, especially across the southeast and over towards the Great Lakes, that is what we're watching right now. Now, this is all Canadian wildfire smoke. We're currently, according to the Canadian Interagency Wildfire Forest Center, there are about 181 active fires just across Canada. I know there has also been a couple of state of emergency issues. So this is all being basically swept over towards the upper level winds, and is why it has traveled as far south as Georgia and Florida, and especially over towards the Carolinas. Now, yesterday it probably peaked, but we're still seeing a little bit of that haze, especially from some of our live cameras. So that future cast smoke showing hazy skies throughout the rest of today. But as our winds switch to the southeast, that's going to provide a little bit of a brief break from the haze, especially tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow night, going into early Wednesday morning. Now, this futurecast smoke model only goes out about 48 hours, but you see that big smoke plume off towards the Carolina coast. That is going to continue to push our direction. So I'd say for the second half of Wednesday, we'll once again see that second plume of smoke start to come through. We do have air quality alerts pretty much all across the country. The most notable one is going to be for the entire state of Minnesota, also including Minneapolis. And this is basically that code orange, unhealthy for sensitive groups, meaning most of that smoke is way up into the atmosphere. But sometimes, especially with light winds, basically what we're seeing right now, some of that smoke may mix a little bit towards the surface. So if you do have any pre-existing respiratory issues, that kind of stuff, then we would encourage you to limit your outdoor exposure. Here for us, most notably, we've got York, Chester, and Lancaster counties that do have that code orange issued all the way through this evening. So again, if you do suffer from any respiratory issues, definitely want to limit your outdoor exposure. May want to stay indoors, keep the windows closed. For everyone else around the Charlotte area, going to be under that code yellow, which is more of a moderate, probably sticking all the way through about Wednesday. You can see the haze pretty much from all of our live cameras, and it's basically makes the sky dull, so not as bright blue as you normally would see it, but despite the haze, it actually feels fantastic. 74 degrees. Nick said no complaints on a Monday, and I think we'll continue that for the rest of today with that dew point down into the 40s, meaning the air is comfortable. There is no humidity out there, but still seeing some hazy skies up towards the mountains as well. So for today through Wednesday, it's going to be feeling comfortable. It's going to be dry, lots of sunshine to go around. By the time we get to Thursday, temperatures start to increase, a little bit more humidity, more clouds, and by the time we get to Friday and into the weekend, that humidity level really starts to increase. So for today, high temperatures, lower 80s, lots of sunshine, just those hazy skies, and temperatures on the warm up. So today will likely be one of the coolest days out of the next 7 to 10. Looks like we will be peaking Friday and Saturday with highs both near 90 degrees. Of course, we have not done 90 just yet, which I don't think anybody is complaining as of now, but it is June 2nd. That is the start of meteorological summer. June 1st is. So we are well underway, and warmest temperature we've hit so far was 88 degrees on April 5th, and it looks like this week could finish out the hottest of the year. Rain chances will slowly start to go up towards the weekend, so that is what we will look for next, but the drought monitor has seen tons of improvement earlier this month, especially over towards the month of May. Now, just a few of us really under a dry slot around the Charlotte metro, over towards the western North Carolina mountains, a much more serious and severe drought over towards the South Carolina coast. So something that we'll continue to monitor, but for our area, we are doing wonderful, especially for the start of summer. Checking in on the tropics, 0% chance of development for the next 48 hours, but also through the next 7 days. And one of the reasons why is we've got this Saharan dust layer that is just sitting around the Atlantic, and that eventually will continue to move across the southeast over towards the weekend. So we will be replacing our smoke plume with dust later on this week. A lot of stuff going on. Like I mentioned, in this 7-day forecast for today, tomorrow, again, some hazy skies will continue. A few areas will have that moderate or yellow air quality risk going into the next several days. Bigger store will probably be this big warm up that we have in store. Will be very close to 90 degrees for Saturday and hanging on to that towards the weekend. So feeling more like summer.
Just when I said, hey, I'm not going to complain, I got smoke.
I knew you were going to have a take back. Yes.
I'm like, oh man, I started breathing. I don't know if you can hear me now.
You started
Now
coughing.
you started it.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So Becca's a busy person, y'all. She's gonna have more on the smoke coming from Canada in our newscast, but also we have a hurricane special coming up
That's right.
Wednesday.
Yep.
Let me set you up, Becca. So
Yes.
our Weather Impact team will host this hurricane special June 4th, which is Wednesday, Hurricane IQ, a WCNC Weather Impact special. They'll walk through the hurricane predictions for this year, take a look back at the devastation from Helene, and explain the science behind hurricanes. I mean, look, it will help you better prepare for hurricane season, and it will be, again, June 4th at 8 p.m.,
Yes.
streaming on WCNC Plus. You've done a lot of work going into it. Do you mind telling us, kind of giving us a peek behind the curtain, the work you've been doing on this special?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think coming out of last year's hurricane season, the words that it only takes one storm for it to be a bad hurricane season, that really impacted the Carolinas severely. So just ways to prepare for the upcoming hurricane season, and a recap of last year, and also more of what people can expect going into this year as well, which is expected to be above average once again. So we kind of dive into a couple of those topics, like the impacts and the importance of having flood insurance and the right kind of flood insurance, and the dangers of flash flooding and how important it is to get forecasts from a reliable source and have ways to get those emergency alerts. So we kind of dive deep into that. The two topics that I was responsible for was flash flooding and also what new people can expect for hurricane season, especially if it's your first year in the Carolinas. I know we have a lot of people that move here. And just because we're not on the coast doesn't mean that we're not impacted. We get the remnants of tropical systems. Helene was a remnant of that system, and of course brought a ton of flash flooding over towards western North Carolina. So we get it all here, even though we're not on the coast. We get tropical storm force winds, we get trees down, power outages, flash flooding, tornadoes. We take a deep dive into that. So if you got some time on Wednesday, definitely would encourage folks to watch it.
And if you know Larry Sprinkle, he will talk about Hurricane Hugo as another example, right?
Yes.
So yeah, you guys do some great work. Again, it'll get you prepared for hurricane season for folks who are been in the Carolinas for a long time, and especially for folks who have not been in the Carolinas for a long time. It give you a good idea of what to expect and how to prepare.
Absolutely.
I know Becca's busy, but she's coming back in the next hour, so we'll see you in a little bit,
All right,
Becca.
sounds good.
Thank you again.